Good afternoon and welcome to LVS Perspectives number 62. And today we welcome Vana Parker, who's going to talk to us today about the road to becoming a world champion skydiver. And Vana's already spoken to our sixth form this morning as part of their sixth form development day. And now we've got the treat of hearing this and I haven't heard you. So I'm going to just sit back and listen while I pass over to you.
Well, I will just quickly apologise to all the parents that the half of your children hopefully will go home wanting to skydive now.
Well, especially as your son is out in the Maldives right now working as
skydiving.
Right, so parents, dig deep, okay. And if you've got any questions for Vana, please put them in the chat and we'll pick them up in a bit. So over to you, Vana.
Brilliant, thank you very much. So it's round one of the 2022 Skydiving World Championships. My team and I are sitting in the aeroplane above the Arizona desert about to start the competition. 2022, we've been together for quite a few years actually, training, but 2022 has been a particularly tough year. We set goals at the start of the year to become world champions, and we basically did everything we could in order to achieve that. So back to the aeroplane, we've just been given a 2-minute warning. So 2 minutes time, we're going to open the door and we're going to jump out of the plane. In the plane with us are the French and American teams, ladies teams, and they are our main competition. They have both teams are very strong skydivers, very strong competitors, and they've beaten us in various competitions before. Despite the noise of the aeroplane, there's kind of an eerie silence amongst the competitors, and I noticed nervous glances between the French teams and the American teams. But this time for our team, it felt different. I was able to look across at my teammates, smile and say, we've got this. So how did it begin? Who would want to jump out of an aeroplane? I have been skydiving for 29 years and I've done over 9,200 skydives. Why on earth would I want to jump out of an aeroplane? Well, during my university Freshers Week, you walk around the kind of activity and sports clubs trying to decide what you want to do. And I was actually on my way to the kayak team because I thought I'd really like to carry on doing that. And on the way next to it was the parachute club. And I thought, well, that sounds fantastic. I would love to go and try and do one jump. It's kind of on my bucket list. Why not go and try it? So I joined the club, went out to a skydiving parachute centre, did the training and everything else, just planning to do one jump. I did the jump. It was absolutely terrifying, but the exhilaration was incredible, obviously the adrenaline. But what I really noticed was that actually it was a proper sport. There were teams training, there was competitions, and even at one of the first jumps, the sort of camaraderie between the other skydivers was incredible. People really looking out for each other. So I'm a particularly competitive person, and basically from the beginning, I decided I wanted to win competitions. So the sport that I do within skydiving is called formation skydiving. There are 4 of us that build formations. So we're a 4-way team and we have a camera person that jumps with us and he or she takes the footage of the jump. You have 35 seconds to build as many formations as possible, though you've been given the formations before each jump of a competition, which a competition is 10 rounds. And basically, you need to do as many formations possible in 35 seconds. And the timer starts as soon as you leave the aeroplane. It's quite a physical sport because you need to use your arms and your legs in order to move. And then also, it's basically a sprint. You need to build the correct formations and you'll score a point for each formation built. And that's obviously you've got to be able to jump off the aeroplane together and you want to be able to turn and move towards each other cleanly and precisely to pick the formations up. So it's quite a physical sport. There's a mental aspect to it as well. Obviously, in free fall, you're unable to talk to each other or to communicate because it's quite noisy. You're falling at terminal velocity, 120 miles an hour. So you need to remember the skydive. You need to remember the next formation in order to build it. So this is my skydiving team. It's NFTO, which stands for Not for the Ordinary. We are the British Female Formation Skydiving Team, and I'll introduce you to my teammates. On the left-hand side is Sian. She is a full-time skydiver. She works in skydiving. She's an instructor. She's a coach. She does stunt works. Often works in movies or adverts for skydiving, and basically jumps out of an aeroplane every day, which is just fantastic for her. She worked on the Mission Impossible movie, and her partner taught Tom Cruise basically how to skydive, and then during the course of the filming of the movie she would jump out as a safety officer behind the camera and make sure everything was all right during the skydive. Kath, who's next, is a dietitian. She works for the NHS, full-time dietitian, and basically would jump with us in using up all her leave and her weekends, etc., in order to train. Myself, I am a sports therapist, a mother. I have 2 children, similar age to the sixth formers here, and so I sort of juggle everything around team training, around obviously being at home with the family and working. And then Anna on the right hand side, she is a doctor in the military. She also has a bit of a specialist in high altitude training, and so she actually also worked on the Mission Impossible movie, and had to sit next to Tom Cruise on every single skydive, which was obviously quite fun. And because they were jumping from 18,000 foot, they needed to have oxygen, supplementary oxygen, and he would have an oxygen monitor, so she'd be checking he was okay, checking his oxygen levels, etc. during that thing. Tom Cruise is a good professional, quite a fit guy, and so for most of the time the only thing he was actually worried about and asked Anna to look after was how his hair looked under his helmet. So she spent a lot of time brushing his fringe out of the way to make sure he looked good. And then Simon is our camera person. He jumps with us. He also works as a web designer in his full time. Right, goal setting. So we'd been together for quite a long time, the team, and in 2016 in Chicago, we won a bronze medal at the World Championships, which is pretty impressive. I made my first international medal, very happy about that. 2018, we came back to the next World Championships, which was in Australia, and we won a silver medal. Again, it's an incredible achievement, and it took a lot of training, etc., to get there. But we kind of thought, let's have a go. Let's try and get the gold medal. And 2020, the World Championships is every 2 years. So we thought 2020, let's set the goal of winning the World Champs. The event was going to be held in Russia. And of course, as you know, 2020, COVID hit, and everything changed. So the competition wasn't held that year. In fact, it was held the year afterwards, and British Skydiving felt it was unsafe to travel to Russia for that because COVID was still a huge problem. So we had massive changes within the team. We had changes in sponsorship. We lost our sponsorship from British Skydiving, which is the main federation that supports us, because they just hadn't had any income, obviously due to COVID. So 2022 is the next World Championships, and that is being held in Arizona in America. And we set goals to win the World Championships. And so we did absolutely everything we could in order to do that. And we looked at, and we're talking about inches, any little thing that we could do to make that happen. We knew that other teams were particularly strong. And so even if we did everything, it may be that we still would not win, but we wanted to give it the best shot that we possibly could. So in terms of training for that year, we completed 530 skydives together. We do 12 jumps a day, 10 to 12 jumps a day when we're training, and we'd literally spend a week a month training. So we would obviously the weather in the UK is not perfect, so we did a couple of camps in Dubai, which has brilliant weather at the early in the year, and then we started training in Spain for the rest of the year, so maybe 10 camps in Spain. and we would travel out, obviously, to do those jumps. And the Spain also had the same aeroplane as the one that would be jumped at the World Championship. So you're practicing how you climb out of the aeroplane, how you leave the plane together, etc. So 530 skydivers is a lot of jumps. We also did about 40 hours of tunnel training. I'm not sure if any of you had the opportunity to go and fly in the wind tunnel. There's one here, close to here in Basingstoke, the iFly tunnel, and that simulates free fall. So in terms of a four-way, we can practice all the moves that we need to practice in the tunnel. Obviously not the exiting from the aeroplane, but most of the moves we can practice. So we did quite a lot of that. We also looked at fitness. So if we were not training, we would spend a lot of time doing, exercising every day. I probably do an hour and a half's exercise every day, and it's about being cardiovascularly fit, strong enough to hold on to the aeroplane, to launch out of the plane, and obviously hold each other, and when we're doing the moves, etc. The actual skydive itself, you probably don't need huge amounts of energy or strength in order to do a skydive, but the nature of doing 12 jumps each day and the preparing for the jumps and the running to the aeroplane, and once you land your parachute, you run back, you drop one parachute, you pick the next one up, and you run back out to the plane. There's a lot of fitness required for that. In addition, nutrition, super important. It was important that we were able to fall at similar speeds. I'm the tallest and heaviest in the team, so my teammates need to wear a weight belt in order so that we fall at the same speed. But really important that you stayed as fit and kind of healthy as possible. So in terms of nutrition, as I said, we looked at every little thing, every inch, and whether you have that biscuit or cake or glass of wine or whatever, if you thought it could affect becoming a world champion, we didn't do it. So quite extreme. And then mentally, we did a lot of visualization. As I said, each skydive that you do will be different. You'll have never done that same sequence of formations before. So you can visualize and practice doing those, in your mind. So you'd spend 10 minutes a day sort of running through a couple of different skydives or different combinations that could come up. We as a team, we also used a sports psychologist who helped look at the team values and what people needed in certain situations. Do you need more quiet time if things aren't going as well as you want? Do you need to be more excited before a skydive? You may have the same goal, but you may have different short-term personal goals to get to that main goal. So it's about working together and reviewing all of that thing. We also used the Headspace app, which is a fantastic app if you want to, get yourself focused, breathing techniques. They've got some great programs for sort of sports concentration and competition. We had many hurdles during the course of the year, money being the main one. Skydiving is not a cheap sport. And we, as I say, we lost the financial support from the federation. So we kind of had to make choices about, what we were prepared to give up. And to that end, I actually sold a house in order to pay to cover half of the team costs, just so that we could do it. I believed, as the rest of us did, that we were prepared to put absolutely everything we could into it to have the chance to be World Championships. I mentioned Kath is a NHS dietitian. She gave up every single second of her leave in order to skydive and train with us. So she would do a full week's work, would finish work on a Friday, say at 5 o'clock, would drive to the airport, jump in, get the plane, fly over to Spain, would probably arrive at the skydiving club at 2 in the morning, and then from 7 o'clock we start training. We train hard for 5 to 7 days, and then jump back in the car, get back to the airport, get back to home, again, get home at 2 in the morning, up at 5, whatever, to get to work. So huge commitment. So it's time, money, absolutely everything to do with that. Trust and teamwork. Teamwork is about recognizing your strengths and weaknesses and working together to get the best result. You're not competing against each other within the team. Your team is competing against the other team. So you know, you need to be able to encourage each other to work on the weaknesses, the physical weaknesses that maybe we had, that we weren't very good at particular exits out of the aeroplane, or particular block moves, we call them, you know, the transitioning between formations. We sort of trained those and trained those. In every competition or team situation, you may have a bad round or a bad match. You know, how do you behave with that? How do you cope with that? One of my main aspects that we look at for coaching and, you know, within a team dynamic is you don't fear failure, you know, don't be afraid of making a mistake or failure. From mistakes, you tend to learn so much more that's going to help you on the path to reaching your goals. If you're a strong team, you know, we wanted to be united and supportive. If someone makes a mistake in the team, if I make a mistake, I know the rest of the team will support me. And if I'm having a bad day, you know, it's important to sort of keep that morale up, keep your head held high, and don't give up. We had the concept of train hard, fight easy. So we trained very hard, really pushed the limits. And we arrived in Arizona at the competition with complete confidence and trust in each other. We had made huge sacrifices in order to be at the World Championships in the condition that we were in. The nice little story was, even before we arrived at the skydiving club, preparing to do a few training jumps before the competition actually started, just to get used to the aeroplane, the landing area, you know, where everyone was, how, you know, where you downloaded the footage for the judges, etc. And we were preparing a skydive together. And we hadn't even jumped out, so nobody had seen any footage of our team or anything. And we noticed in the distance that the French national coach, and as I mentioned before, France was one of our main competitors, but the French national coach was watching us, and then he sort of wandered off. And in fact, after the competition, we learned that he had actually walked back to the French delegation tent, and he had said to the girls' team, you girls are fighting for second place because the British are going to win the World Championships. Makes me a bit tearful now, but it's just that having that quiet confidence and that trust in each other obviously was, you know, the rest of the world could see that. Okay, so back to the competition. Round one, we had a good jump. We exited the aeroplane, worked together nicely. It's a solid, good skydive. And we finished, when the first jump was scored, we were 1 point ahead of America and we were 2 points ahead of France. It is a 10-round competition though. Anything can happen. A lot can change during each jump. If we fell off the aeroplane, if the camera didn't work, if anything could happen. If someone forgets to skydive halfway through, you could so easily lose points to the other teams. Over the course of 10 rounds, we were kind of aiming to score about 200 points. So it's 20 points per jump. It's very easy. You could drop. You know, being 1 point ahead is you definitely haven't won at that stage. So round two, we gained another point or two on the competitors, and we just realised we just need to keep focus and keep chipping away. Round five was relatively one of our best jumps, and I've got a video here that I'll show you. The particular exit that we did from the aeroplane was one of the hardest ones, particularly for Anna, my teammate. And it's so critical that as you leave the plane, the wind is coming from the right angle and you can start working straight away. This video I'll show you also shows that you have 35 seconds, and this is the judged footage, so you can see how the judges score each point as well. Yeah, so you'll notice on the bottom right hand corner, you've got the 35 seconds. I may be obscuring that myself actually, but you've got 35 seconds. The countdown started, we've exited, we've done a good exit now, and then we're now scoring points. So it's 3 points, 4 points, 5 points. And this particular move was brilliant because you can see there's like 3 of us linked together and 1 person going around the outside. in training, we never managed to catch that. The person flying around the outside never managed to get that leg perfectly so that we could move on quickly. And then during the competition, she did it every time. So we had a fantastic exit. The skydive's flowing nicely. We're working really nicely together, and we scored 25 points. And as I said, and you can see there what the judges scored. There's 5 judges that mark the jump. Each time we touch, you need to build the correct formation, and then you get that point. If you make a mistake and someone's hand misses a particular grip, you'll end up with what we call a bust. So you won't get the point. So you'll have a 0 for in terms of each point. It is a sprint. It's not an artistic. There's no points for looking good. You get points for building the formations correctly. Right. So carry on the competition. Round 9. At the end of round 9, we were 9 points ahead of the French and 14 points ahead of America. This is a strong position, but we could have a terrible jump. We could not. Something, we could fall off the plane, something could happen, you can't give up until the last minute. We left the plane together, flying smoothly and precisely. It was a good, solid skydive. And as we track away from each other, so at the end of 35 seconds, you fly away from each other so you can open your parachute in clear space. And then we fly down under our canopies, parachutes, and land next to each other. And when we landed, we knew that we were world champions. So on paper, there were 3 teams that were capable of winning gold medals. All those teams had trained incredibly hard. They've made huge sacrifices, and each team wanted to be world champions for sure, but it's kind of the inches that make the difference. The little things, the little changes you make, the being confident, being trusting, and just hard work, and what small changes can you make to win your gold medals? And what I sort of mentioned to the kids earlier as well is it's just such a great thing. Take those opportunities to try new stuff. It's not just about, and if you do try things, don't just try once and say, oh, well, yeah, not really for me. You have to keep trying and working hard at it to achieve those goals. It's the kind of tip of the iceberg thing, that what you see on the tip when you see that incredible footballer scoring the goal or whatever, you haven't seen all those hours of training that he has done in order to get there, and to be confident, So in terms of for sports teams or exams or whatever, if you work hard and do the prep behind the scenes, you'll be confident and you will achieve more. Okay.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much. That's amazing. Really well done. I'm quite in awe, actually. Sat next to a gold medalist. What's next?
Well, it's a funny thing because that was the ultimate goal, and but it's almost a little bit anticlimactic, and you're sort of, and I just love competing and being part of a team. So we're still struggling away, trying to raise funds in order to carry on training, as the team, because it's an incredible experience,
And talking about teamwork, and that's something that we were doing this morning with the colours with the kids as well. Were there bad times? Were there dynamics within the team that sometimes were going horribly wrong?
We've had a lot of that over the years. I mean, in fact, one of the questions I was asked during the presentation was, how do you select your team? We were particularly lucky with the personalities we've got. We wouldn't be friends if we weren't skydivers, because you're from such different walks of life. But if you get the right dynamic, and that doesn't mean you're going to be best friends, but it's about making sure that you can work together. And I mean, we have had situations that the team lineup has changed over the years, and we've had other people come in and it doesn't work. It doesn't click, and it doesn't matter how hard you try. It doesn't work. I think when you have such a big goal as this, and everyone is on the same program, and you're kind of know that you're fighting against the rest of the world, not against each other. It's the other teams that you're competing against, and you just want to do the best, and you have that trust.
So
works
as
well.
part of the training, did you have maybe a professional company or a coach come in to look at the team dynamics and how you might work together? Did that happen, or did you just get on with it?
We have a coach, but he was more of a technical coach that talks about how do you exit the aeroplane, how do we work together. But coaches tend to do a lot of that as well. I mean, that's certainly, I do a little bit of coaching now, and that's certainly the thing that I'm probably better at than the technical stuff, because you realise how important and how it can change so much. You know, you don't have to be the best athlete, but if you can work together, if the stronger people at this particular thing and can work together, you can make it happen. You know?
And say there was a vacancy on your team right now, how would you go about selecting that person?
Well, the problem when you get to this kind of level is it's hard to slot new people in, who and we are actually in that position at the moment. We have Kath, who's the the dietitian, just has no more time and leave and money and everything else. So we have there's another girl that we fly with indoor competition. But the question is outdoors, and when you change a member, you change so much, and you kind of take a huge step back and then come back up again. But I think you're looking, for us, we realise now personality is so important. It's about being a team player. It's about wanting the same goals, that sort of thing. And even a less experienced person, if they are equally as driven and want to work as hard, then you can get pulled up quite quickly.
Yeah, and if one of you was having a bad time or it wasn't going right, or you could just sense something was wrong, was that something you just worked out as a team?
Yes, yeah, we did quite a lot of that, and working with a sports psychologist actually was really nice, because I felt we'd known each other really well, for a long time. And then, she'd ask a question about, so how do you feel when a jump doesn't go well, or how do you feel, or what do you prefer to do before a competition round? And we learned loads about each other. And the one girl said, if things haven't gone great, I want to spend some time on my own, just leave me for 5 minutes, and then I'm going to come back fully energized. And someone else said, well, I need a hug, or I need a punch, or whatever it was. It was
you were open with each other.
And so that sort of open dialogue really helps.
Fantastic. And with the point system, you were explaining the different points and that you get. That's obviously all choreographed. Is it the same? Does everyone follow the same kind of formation, or is it different every time?
Yes. So there's a dive pool of about 60 formations, and at the beginning of a competition, they draw the rounds. So you will never have done those particular formations in that order before. But round one will be, say, A21-6, those are the letters and numbers of the formations, and then every single team will do the same round one. So they will jump out of the aeroplane and they'll do A21-6, A21-6 as many times as possible during the course.
How long before the dive do you actually get that information?
You get the draw comes out normally the night before the competition starts, and then you'll know the 10 rounds, so you can prepare them, but you won't have ever jumped them before. So so the rules are, you can't go and fly in a wind tunnel, and you can't go and jump out of an aeroplane, but you practice on the ground. We've got like these little like skateboards, and you can practice the angles, and because you've done so many jumps together, you kind of know how it's going to work.
But having that 24 hours lead up to that must put a lot of pressure on you as a team.
Oh yeah. I mean, we all joke that the night before the competition, you wake up, you don't sleep very well, but as soon as you wake up, you're saying, hey, 21-6, hey, in your mind, you're just running over the skydive.
So you know those 64 formations.
Yeah. So we've done all of the formations, but you'll never have done them in the same orders before.
Oh God, I would find that probably more stressful than jumping out of a plane.
Well, that's the thing for me now, because everyone says, oh gosh, you think, skydiving, oh, it's so scary. Scary is round one of a world championships. That kind of adrenaline and nerves, and you have to have trust that you can do the job well and that your teammates are going to do the job well. But you're so full of nerves, and your mouth's dry, and you have to sort of breathe and keep yourself calm. And I think last year, because we'd worked so hard, we were actually quite enjoying it. It was like, well, actually the competition was almost wasn't so tough, because we'd been through so many battles during the course of the year that actually it was, we were enjoying it. You could stand in the door and smile at your teammates and say, yeah, we're going to have fun here.
That's fantastic. And you must have had injuries, over time. Is it easy to be injured?
You can get. Yes, I broke my ankle early on in skydiving actually, but so I've kind of had to have several surgeries over the course of time. Fortunately, we've never had an injury during a competition, or not that you wouldn't carry on with. In Australia, Anna got sick. She was kind of was vomiting, so I had some sort of tummy bug, and we managed to get 30 minutes, I think, delay to go and do that jump because she really was poorly, but she just toughened up and we did it, you know. It's
well done.
Which I think is a bit about mindset and drive, you know. But obviously if someone had broken an ankle, you couldn't have carried on skydiving, but we've been lucky that hasn't happened.
That's really good. Yeah, absolutely amazing. But that, you know, because you hear about some injuries when people have been, you know, parachuting and things like that. And when you go off to Spain and you're doing the training, what happens? You gear yourself up, you get there and the weather conditions aren't right. Does it just put an end to everything? Well, we've certainly spent a lot of time looking at clouds, which is why we don't train in the UK very often, because the weather is just terrible here. Fortunately in Spain, actually, where we jump, there is a wind tunnel there. So if you know the wind, in fact, what happens in Spain normally is the wind is too strong, and you know, we'll then go and do a couple of sessions in the tunnel. But we were fortunate last year; we managed to get most of the jumps in that we wanted. So we were lucky with weather, I think. You know. Do you have any kind of freak weather? Like it might look fine, and then you're out there, and then suddenly something happens. Have you ever had that before?
Not really. I mean, Spain has this terrible wind they call the tramontana. You know, any place that's got a wind that's got a name is a problem. You know, but we've taken off in the aeroplane there, and then suddenly the pilots are descending. You say, "What's going on?" And they say, "No, the wind's too strong or whatever." So so nothing too bad. Yeah. And America's very strict on how much cloud you can have in the sky, and you can't jump through cloud and rain because you need to be able to, apart from it's uncomfortable, you also need to be able to see each other when you're under parachute and where you're going to land and that sort of thing. So,
right. And what was the toughest time for you in all of this?
We ended up in a position just before we went to the World Champs that British Skydiving were deciding if we were going to be able to go. You know, they had some issue that they were dealing with, and so we'd trained so hard and we'd made all these sacrifices, and they suddenly kind of pulled the rug and said, no, actually, one of the members couldn't go. And we were like, say, well, we can't go without her because she's one of the strongest members of the team and everything else. And that was particularly hard. That caused a lot of anxiety and stress and all the rest of it. So, you know, but having said that, that was a terrible time, but, you know, it probably made us stronger as a team because we were really fighting an external battle. You know, we weren't worrying about each other and, oh, you're late or you're this, or, you know, there was no politics within the team itself. So in some ways, some things, you know, when they say things make you stronger, I think they do.
Oh, well done. It's been so lovely to chat with you today.
You.
And thank you for coming in. And it just falls perfectly into everything that we're doing today for the sixth form.
Oh, brilliant.
That team building, the different personalities, the resilience and everything else. And it is so interesting to hear everything that you've had to say. And so, look, thank you very much. And it's lovely to meet you.
It's cool. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Well, this is the first round. We've got another Perspectives coming up in about 15 minutes. So this is the first time we've done two on one day.
Wow.
But it's great. Thank you very much. See you soon. Bye.